we've decided to take 12 months off as a band as far as writing is concerned, working together. So each of us are sort of getting on with solo things at the moment. The old cliche, really, you know, sort of time for a change, because we've been working together for about 10 years in various bands, so it's time to actually have a break from each other.
Right.
You know, so that's the plan for the next 12 months as such. Not really embarrassed about that period of time. Some of the things are pretty funny. I mean, I think when we were good, we were very good, and when we weren't good, we weren't very good at all. I think there's something that you always notice through the time factor, that you notice years later, the bits where you were being very pretentious and the bits where you weren't. I mean, when we were good, there's some things that I'm really proud of in that band. There's some things that definitely could be kept in the shadows, you know. I think we all feel the same about that. Yeah, it's very strange times we were going through when we were recording the last album. The last album was quite heavy on the subject matter and things, and I really personally wanted to do things that were a lot lighter, something that was more sort of eccentric. And this music came out of that. It's just sort of the way I'd sort of describe it. It's a cross between Glenn Miller and the Andrews Sisters. It's the way it sounds to me. There's lots of sort of big saxophone sounds there. Instead of, say, electric guitar being the prominent thing, or acoustic guitar, it's mainly like saxophones, things like that, brass sections, you know. Yeah, and its influences from sort of 1930s music up to 50s rock and roll, you know, all those mixed in, but predominantly sort of 30s and 40s, like the Glenn Miller sort of feel.
It's dance orientated,
yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's wacky. I mean, it's right off the wall, right off centre.
Right.
A lot of fun doing it, and a big break for us compared with, you know, when we were doing the other heavier things. You can get so far down on that sort of thing and analyse everything so much that you have to sort of snap out of it and do something just to clear the air, which this is those 4 or 5 tracks that do that job. So originally they were going to be on this record, but they didn't fit, they didn't complement the stuff on the album that's been out, so because of that we've put them on a separate EP. I think every musician has influences, whether they know it or not. I think the best album of last year was Jesus Mary Chain's record, Automatic. To me, it's a work of art. And I love the drum machines and everything. I've been a sort of bit not really in love with drum machines in the past, depending on how you use them. I think Kraftwerk use them very well. But generally speaking, when people try to make drum machines sound like real drums, to me it loses something because it hasn't got that feel. But on that particular album, I think it's great because it's very efficient sounding. And it leaves room for all the guitars and things to take over and the vocals, to put the emotion into it. And it's one of those albums, I sort of judge an album by, do I like most of the tracks on this album? Because I think with any album you can get one track that you're going to like, within reason. Whereas every track, I think, is a classic. Well done, kids. Great record. I like Happy Mondays. I've got this cassette, Dave got it in America, and it's different because I bought the album over here, and this is a different thing. It's an EP thing. But it's brilliant. Excellent. I really like it. That's got a certain flavour to it, a certain attitude. I just like the music. It just connects completely to me. That's, as far as the dance stuff goes, that's like one that I really like, and I would consider that dance music. I really would like to get involved with horror films, doing soundtrack music to them, or being in them. I've always been obsessed with them, and it's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. You know, right through to the tacky 70s stuff, right through from before that, and after, just good horror films, just like getting that buzz down the spine. It's I've always been in love with that sort of thing. There's some stuff I'm doing at the moment, which is some of the darkest stuff I think I've ever recorded. It's one particular track. Very, very dark atmosphere, but it's not necessarily evil, it's not macabre either, it's a different area. It's just a romantic notion of darkness, really, which is very different to anything macabre. I'm not really into that. I just like the beauty of the darker side of things, you know, just like dark blue. Yeah, I'm very wary of being any sort of connection with the bullshit that happened in the 60s. I think the original idea with the peace and love thing in the 60s is essentially good, but it was distorted. There was so much bullshit going around at that time as well, as far as that theme went. And basically, I think the way I perceive that time is people just taking too much acid. You know, I think that's the way it went. And hopefully, the good things about the 60s, I think there's a good chance that they could happen in the 90s without the naivety of the 60s.